Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network.
Our friend Allison Gill says Trump has a history of presenting conflicting arguments to suit him in the moment. He argued he was an officer of the U.S. in E.G. and Carroll to get Bill Barr to have the DOJ represent him, but argued he's not an officer of the U.S. in the 14th Amendment case. That's why this ridiculous lawyer that desperately needs a lozenge he's on tape arguing the opposite in the impeachment, that this is for a court of law, and now that we're in the a court of law, he's like, oh no, you have to impeach it. I mean, it's so ridiculous. Denise tweets, the country that was founded because people were sick of having a king now has to take this to the Supreme Court to decide if we have a king or not. This is what America has come to, thanks to the Republican Party selling its craven soul to Donald Trump. Thanks again, Mitch, by the way, who by the way, yesterday had no comment, just doesn't want to get involved now. Man, you are, as author of They Want to Kill Americans.
Yep.
What were your thoughts yesterday? Watching, not that his lawyers say, oh yes, he can get SEAL Team 6 to assassinate people and not be charged, and then Trump not disavowing violence again.
Yeah, qualified immunity is what he said. And when Trump, after the lawyer made that insane comment, and there's been great debate on Twitter and on my Substack about, hey, is this possible? We've actually had hundreds of military officers who adore and worship Trump like a god, right? Like a god. So don't tell me that the chain of command would disobey or would not carry out an unlawful order like that, because if the president receives immunity and becomes immune to prosecution, technically he is king, and that order would be lawful. He actually has pardoned SEALs who were war criminals and convicted and expunged their convictions. So don't tell me that scenario is hypothetical. But let's say for a second that it is, right? The president orders the murder of his political opponent. If that's the case and Donald Trump is found, let's say that the courts lose their mind and the Supreme Court lose their mind. He has given Joe Biden full immunity from everything. Mm-hmm. Everything. Yep. Biden could say right now, Donald Trump can no longer run for president. And he'd be immune. Mm-hmm. All he'd have to do is make sure that before an impeachment that he resigns his office, no matter what it is. They don't seem to understand that this is a two-sided sword. But, just like you said, we did not elect kings in this country. We elected men who turn over power every 4 years. And Donald Trump desperately needs that power back to stay out of prison.
Well, yeah, you're right. In a second Trump administration, there'll be no more Defense Secretary Mark Espers, who said Trump is the biggest threat to our democracy, right?
No. Yeah, they're definitely.
He already ordered the military to shoot Americans. I mean,
and now when they say that we have lots of guardrails, the entire process of the Trump existence in the political body politic has been about the destruction of guardrails. Okay, these are not your maintenance teams putting them up. Okay, these are careering out of control 16-wheelers, 18-wheelers crashing through every guardrail that they can and laughing at the destruction at the bottom of the hill. And that destruction is the American way of governance. Which brings me to my rant of the day.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Uh-oh.
Since you got it out there, I'm hearing a lot of people saying they won't vote, or they won't vote for Joe Biden, or they're going to vote for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. You're voting for the destruction of American democracy. You're voting for Trump. If Palestine is your single issue, imagine what the camps to deport Palestinians that Trump has promised he would do. He would deport anyone that criticizes Israel or supports Palestine. I don't know what's wrong with all of you, but you better get your acts together, because this is the destruction of everything you hold dear. This time it's for keeps.
By the way, as if things could get more depressing, since you brought up the Middle East, you retweeted U.S. defense officials and members of the Biden administration have reportedly begun to understand in recent weeks that negotiations have almost totally failed and that a major regional war in the Middle East may soon be imminent. with several battle plans and contingencies. Oh, holy crap. I mean, the other profoundly depressing headline over the holidays was U.S. intelligence analysis warns that Hamas's influence has grown since its attack on Israel. As an intelligence professional, what are your thoughts?
Well, I only wrote several books about this.
Did you? Did you? I hadn't heard.
Yeah, but it's the books that people hadn't been reading recently.
You know what? I'm propping my iPad and my ring light up on several of your books right now. I'm not kidding.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, the Terrorist Recognition Handbook, Defeating ISIS, the Terrorists of Iraq. All of these freaking books and groups are coming back because Iran is funding them, including backing, elements, in Yemen that are now attacking shipping regularly. But that's not my problem. The influence of Hamas has grown because it was a very large part. I wrote an entire series of Substacks. And if you're not a subscriber to my Substack, go subscribe right now. You will be the smartest person in the Middle East if you read about it. Because one of those strategies was to inflame the Middle East, to kill children, allow children to be killed, in order to get Americans, Europeans, and others who hadn't been paying attention to the Palestine situation to essentially side with them. So now the Middle East is doing that. So U.S. intelligence is very correct. Once again, I'm going to give you some homework. If you haven't watched the movie with Diane Keaton, only the one with Diane Keaton, the little drummer girl from 1984, you'll learn everything you need to know about the Israeli-Palestine situation. It hasn't changed one iota, except for TikTok, inflaming the stupidity of young Americans thinking they could learn all about this in 60-second videos.
Yeah. I mean, that's, like you say, there's a reason this has been going on 11 billion years. This is just such a complex. But I mean, the fact that the horrific attack of October 7th has made them more popular is just profoundly depressing in a lot of ways.
Well, I've done 2 TikToks. And you should all go, if you go look at my TikTok where you think I'm ranting out. I'm using bad language in that one. 57% of Americans 18 to 34 years old felt that Hamas was justified to carry out that mass slaughter of civilians. I don't know what's going on. I just think that Chinese propaganda machine of TikTok is making these silly, ridiculous, easily fact-checkable actions seem hip and cool. And that's where Hamas's influence has grown. And that's where Donald Trump's influence has grown. And that's where people who were praising Osama bin Laden's letter to America has grown. Y'all getting stupider. And now you're starting to make Idiocracy look like not just a documentary, but a film issued by the Smithsonian.
Yeah. I mean, in the horror of Donald Trump and Elise Stefanik calling the January 6th terrorists hostages, I have to tell you, Malcolm, I just saw a video of some of the women still being held by Hamas. And you can't even imagine what you can see on their faces, what they are probably still enduring. And it's just how many levels of horrible him calling the January 6th terrorist hostages. You go ahead.
Absolutely amazing. And that idiot of a woman lives really close to me in the next congressional district. And she's up. Fortunately, there's a former CIA officer that's running against her. But they're just so crazy out there that they now are all referring to the January 6th protesters. 1,000 people who have been convicted, 800 years worth of combined sentences. All of these people, including the grandmothers who were smashing the windows and giving people directions and attacking cops, suddenly they're hostages? Who are they being held hostage by? The U.S. justice system? This is absolutely ludicrous.
Yep. By the way, I've been holding on to Malcolm's stack all through the holidays because of other in your other area of expertise. I mean, in terms of what we are facing in 2024 election year, which is unprecedented already on every level. 2 headlines: Putin counting on the re-election of asset Trump, according to a former administration official. And second headline: unprecedented interference. Expert says report shows 2024 election critical to Russia. Well, no kidding. Because as we know, Trump will just give Ukraine to Putin. Talk to us a little about this.
Well, it's important to know because Russia is losing badly now on the battlefield. They had two major offensives during the winter period. One down in Avdiivka, where I actually went in the pre-war area, a very hardened city, which I thought would have fallen in the first week of the war. The Russians have lost over 1,000 tanks, or 1,000 armored personnel vehicles, tanks, just thousands upon thousands of men hitting that hard rock. And then another area that they started attacking in down in the southern region, where they once again they just lost hundreds and hundreds of vehicles and men, and it's like hitting their head on a stone. I think we referred to that once as the head against anvil strategy that the Ukrainians have set up. But I'm gonna take I'm gonna I don't know if you notice it, but this is a bottle from Whole Foods, and they now bottle Russian tears that you can buy, either gaseous or still.
I mean,
and I'm gonna take a sip of that now.
All right. How does Lindsey Graham go on TV with a straight face and say Putin was scared of Trump? He would never have gone into Ukraine. He was so scared of Trump. I mean,
Trump
oh my God.
Yeah, but Trump and his acolytes now, Vivek Ramaswamy, all of these guys, they're saying destroy NATO. NATO. Yeah. That the United States has successfully drawn together. The very fact that Joe Biden got 2 new NATO members, Finland and Sweden, so offends them. Putin has put the marching orders out there. I'm sorry, the Republican Party and anyone who supports Trump, Ramaswamy, all of these pro-Moscow caucus are just, they're part of the Kremlin crew. And they see the destruction of the world order since World War II to benefit them financially and personally. They don't care about America. They care about their wallets and their puppet master, Vladimir Putin, and his dirty oil money.
I mean, I'm not even an intelligence professional, but I can only imagine how Russia's going to try to interfere in 2024. As you say, some days it's all one story. Putin trained and funded Hamas. Like, he loves this whole thing. They're going to be in here trying to gin up these divisions, right, to do whatever they can to help Trump win.
Sure.
What do we do to try to... Go ahead.
Well, what he wants now is he really wants that war in the Middle East to expand to a regional war. And they're going to be encouraging the Iranians to work through proxies down in Yemen to keep attacking more ships. I don't understand the Biden administration's reluctance to strike Yemen, strike them hard, strike them everywhere, destroy the missile launchers, destroy the small craft, and go home and have a cup of coffee. I've done that. In 1988, we savaged the Iranian Navy in a matter of hours. To make a point, don't come out unless you intend to sink. If you're going to interrupt and disrupt shipping traffic, 1/4 of the world's shipping has now had to move across go across South Africa, and increasing the prices of materials. Russia understands that this hurts Biden. Also getting Hezbollah to shoot rockets into northern Israel, getting the Israelis to defend themselves in greater strength in other areas. This destabilizes the West. That's how they're going to play this game. And they're going to let Trump open his mouth every moment, the Jackson Hinkles, the Jack Posobiec's, and they're going to amplify them on Russia Today to markets you and I are not listening to Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, Southwest Asia, in Latin America. In America, democracy is actually failing globally now because we don't confront them forcefully and with our dollars.
Yeah. Well, that was maybe the most depressing segment we've ever had with you, and that's I think that's what we all deserved.